Beans are a nutritious, convenient, versatile, and economical legume, a plant that includes pods. Beans contain a unique combination of fiber, protein, vitamins, and minerals, offering many health benefits such as improving blood sugar and cholesterol and aiding digestion. Eating more beans weekly can help you meet your fiber needs, and recommended daily intake of fiber based on gender is 25 to 38 grams. Beans are also rich in folate, potassium, iron, magnesium, zinc, calcium, and more. Black-eyed or brown beans are rich in high-quality protein, which provides a healthy alternative to meat and other animal protein. This makes beans a must-have staple in Nigerian dishes. Still, beans is not a very popular food item because it is associated with influence and indigestion. Good afternoon and welcome to another episode here on Lunch Global. I am Chunk Annamel Joseph, and today we're going to be looking at some of the easiest and simple dish you can inculcate in using mixing your beans, maybe your rice. You know, it's so regular for us to make our rice and beans, or maybe just our beans porridge, or beans and yam, beans and potato. But today we're also going to be looking at other recipes that are simple and easy, and of course you can add them to your other dishes when making your meal plan. And before we go into that, we'll take a quick break and we will be back shortly. Welcome back from the short break. I am Chunk Annamel Joseph. This recipes will implement some cooking methods that will help eliminate the discomfort associated with beans to ensure that this staple stays in your family menu or in your own personal menu. Now we're going to start with creamy skillet white beans with parmesan. And it's very important, I'll always make emphasis with having to consume vegetable, especially if you are from the age of 35 and above. You should not miss out in eating vegetables. Yes, it's important you balance your meal at all times, but then it's very also important that you mix whatever you eat with vegetables. Now, these Italian-style creamy white beans are habit forming. They are really that good. Cannellini beans can cook is about 10 minutes on the stovetop in a garlicky cream sauce, strewed with leafy greens and lots of parmesan. Serves as a hearty side dish, meatless main, or add a cooked protein such as chicken, sausage, shrimp, or chicken meatballs to make an easy dinner. Cooking the beans with a handful of bold seasonings and pantry ingredients is the easiest and fastest way to transform basic white beans into a delicious meal. And all you need in getting all this dish in place: your ingredients, you need your white beans, you need your shallot, you need your garlic, your herbs, depends on the herbs you're using, any herbs of your choice, red chili, olive oil, cream, cheese, and broth. How to make this recipe? In a large skillet, soften the shallot or onions in an olive oil, medium-high heat. Add the beans, garlic, herb, salt, and chili. Stir in the broth and cream and bring to a simmer. Cook about 10 minutes. Put the greens on top of the beans. Stir them into the beans until they turn bright green and start to wilt. Stir in the cheese and serve. Now, this dish is super easy to make. Most importantly, what I believe is that you don't need to follow my recipe, or you don't need to follow another person's recipe. Just get your ingredient. One thing about cooking is when you know how to cook, you almost know how everything or how long a particular vegetable or legume or whatever you're cooking stays before cooking. When you're making your jollof rice, maybe you just want to make the party jollof rice, just steaming your rice in the hot water, the quantity of water you add into that rice to make it cook. And when you're parboiling it, you know that, okay, after parboiling, you don't need much rice to cook your rice. So it's always easy when you have an idea of how to go about cooking. Now, that makes it super easy for you to know a particular legume, vegetable, or whatever it is that you're using, either protein. You know that the time you cook beef is not the same time you cook goat's meat, and of course it's not the same time you cook your chicken or turkey. Now, these are different proteins and they cook differently, so that's just the advantage. Now, this particular recipe doesn't take much of your time. This is food that you can cook within 10 to 15 minutes. When you have all your ingredients prepped together, you know that it's just mixing everything and then putting your beans, and already most times these beans are like canned, most of them are canned beans, but then you can use your black eye beans, knowing fully that, okay, you have to parboil the beans to make it soft, because when you're making this particular recipe, you don't stay long in the kitchen or having to cook your vegetable. No, you have all your ingredients prepared. And when you're using the chicken breast, you know that most of the time they are boneless chicken, and from stir frying them, they can be soft, because these are soft chicken or soft protein that you're using, and you know that they don't consume much of your time. So white beans are a neutral canvas and go best with both seasoning and spices. Try them with sweet roasted tomatoes, spooned on top of toasted sourdough as a hearty crostini, or simple spooned over cooked pasta for the ultimate carb feast. And of course, we know that when beans is involved, it goes even perfectly with bread. And this particular recipe as well, you can enjoy it with bread. Now, you can serve it with anything that works for you, and that will be super perfect. Moving on, we'll be looking at moist beans porridge. This particular beans porridge, you know, Nigerian wise is our kind of beans. This is the kind of beans maybe we eat with bread, we eat with gari. And then this moist beans is a type of beans that where they are very cooked. When you eat them, it's like they just melt in your mouth, easy to eat. And then this one, even your children, like your little child, 1, 2, 3 years, depending whether the child has started eating, you can even feed the child with this particular meal, because it's not something that you have to chew. And people who are quite older, I would advise they get to eat this particular recipe very well, because health-wise is good and they don't need to stress their jaws to eat. Now, have you ever eaten beans porridge that literally melts in your mouth, and as soon as it hits your tongue, that's the most delicious kind of beans porridge? Not much chewing required, so you just focus on the deliciousness so you can savor it. This kind of beans porridge goes really well with soaked gari or bread. Beans porridge ingredients. Now, of course, you know that beans porridge does not need lots of seasoning, so go easy on the salt. Very important. The salt needs to be very moderate. If I were you, I wouldn't even use salt at all. Now, your seasoning cubes too, you have to be moderate, because it's beans. We know that beans has a bit of sweetness. When you boil beans, you can just eat them just the way they are, and they are so nice to eat. And then, of course, you need your crayfish. Now, those very small ingredients, and then if you want to make it simple, if you want to make it complicated, then that is fine. Now, you need your brown beans, whether you're using the black-eyed beans or the brown beans. That's the honey beans, is entirely left for you. You can either go in, if you want a mixture, with yam, sweet potatoes, or even Irish potatoes. You can also use your red onions or white onions, your palm oil, that's your red oil, your crayfish, fresh spicy pepper, and any of it that is Scotch bonnet pepper, cayenne pepper, or habanero pepper. Now, it depends on the pepper you want to use. Now, you need your seasoning cube and a little bit of salt, don't forget. Note on this beans, like that's if you have to make sure that your ingredients, everything is just sinking in together. Now, you need to know that honey beans does not require lots of seasoning, just as I mentioned earlier, because it has a natural, delicious flavor. So be careful about the ingredient you add to it so you do not ruin this natural, delicious flavor. When you miss out on the salt, when you miss out on the spices, trust me, you're not going to get that right flavor or that right taste you're looking for. It's not even going to work. It cannot be magic. Then you have to now start the process all over again. And you wouldn't want to waste food, because we all know how food is expensive in the market, so we do not want to waste food. You can use white spinner yam, potato, sweet potato, plantain, any other thing to just add up to this dish. Now, for the pepper, You can make your selection. If you don't eat pepper, you can use tatashe, you can use maybe black pepper just to taste. Then for the crayfish as well, it's optional. Some people will still have to use dry fish in their beans, but this particular recipe, I mean, don't forget, I said this doesn't require so much chewing. So maybe you just want to make it, and then later you have a side, maybe your chicken or your fried chicken or your goat meat. But then if you are having issues with your tooth, then it's better you even go in with your, maybe your side, maybe the yam, the plantain, or any other thing you will like. Then you need your palm oil, and of course everything when it's mixed together. And for some people, they don't even need to fry. They just put in their beans, make sure they boil it and it's soft in a way, like a little bit done. And they go in with their peppers, their crayfish, their seasoning cube, and their salt. Mix everything together. Add your palm oil and cover the pot. Let it cook for maybe, let's say, about 10 more minutes, because you've already parboiled it, so that it will have this softness that you want. And some people cook it very white, so it depends on what works for you. But this recipe is easy. You can just do the combo. But if I am cooking it, trust me, I'm going to make sure I have my palm oil on fire with my onions, my pepper, my tatashe, whatever pepper I'm using, then I'll have to fry it, because I love to fry my food all the time. I don't like unfried food. But then it's not healthy for some people because of the oil. Based on health advice, if you know you have issues with eating oil, which is quite bad, so you have to be careful. You don't have to eat, especially when you are aging, you have to regulate eating fried food. It's not good at all. You have to, most of the time, inculcate it. And then they are nice. They even taste better sometimes than the fried food. But for me, I think I prefer fried food than just mixing up everything together and then making it. Maybe when it's yam porridge, I think I don't mind. But oftentimes, if I am making it myself, I would rather do it the way that it works for me. So do it exactly the way it works for you. You don't have to just because I saw this recipe and I think it looks so cute, everything easy, and then you're going in with that. Sometimes you should just do your own recipe and let other people learn from you. Moving on is garlic, shrimp, and white beans. Now, we already know the major ingredient: your garlic, your shrimps, and your white beans. Don't forget, I said your white beans can be the black-eyed beans. You washing them together, and sometimes you take out the peel. It's like you're making moi moi or akara. You know that when you soak your beans, you take out the peel out of it before you blend it, and then you make your moi moi. So when you're making this recipe and you don't have, probably you feel like it's going to be so much money for you to buy the canned white beans, then you can always improvise. A simple meat with so many variation, but one thing that stays consistent is how comforting this dish is. It can easily be served with rice and salad for all-way-rounded dinner, and I'll say for lunch as well, because this is easy. It easily digests because you have a very minimal quantity of beans. You know that beans takes time to digest, but then when you have it mixed with like your combo, now if you're mixing it with salad, you know that salad is vegetable, so the quantity of beans is going to be just minimal. The creaminess of these beans stand out against the chewiness of the sausage and tender shrimp and the smoky paprika rounds around all the flavors. Typically, more of a Spanish dish, this recipe can easily be turned into more of a Greek dish or Italian or even Portuguese. More variation are there. Like you can turn it anyhow you want. And that's just one. I keep saying that this is the beauty of cooking. You do it just the way that works for you. Depending on what spices you use and even what type of sausage you use, it's fabulous no matter what you choose. And for the ingredients, you need your olive oil. Why I said olive oil is quite more healthy than the normal vegetable oil we use. So, and it gives it this flavor. You know, there's this nice flavor when you're using olive oil. It just changes the aroma of the food. So you need your olive oil, your garlic cloves, it has to be minced. Then you need your dried chili, you need your bay leaf, maybe fresh. If you have fresh bay leaf, then that works perfect. But if you do not, you can go in with a dry bay leaf. You need your chopped tomatoes, you need your coarser salt, freshly ground pepper, you need your tomato paste, your canned white beans or If you do not have it or don't have the means to get the white beans, you can use your black eye beans, soak it, peel it, cook it. Then low sodium chicken broth. Then you need your shrimp, your smoked paprika, chopped flat leaf parsley, grilled bread. And for the bread is optional. That is like your combo. That's what you just mix together to eat. Now, the first thing you need to do is you preheat your boiler, and then you add in your oil, heavy, maybe oil in a large oven, oven-proof skillet over medium heat, and 1 garlic clove, chilies, and bay leaf, and cook, stirring constantly just until fragrance. So in about 1 to 2 minutes, you add your tomato seasonings with salt and pepper. Cook, stirring and smashing tomato with the back of a wooden spoon. That's like your spatula. If you want to use spoon, but make sure that if you have a wooden spoon, fine. If you don't have a wooden spoon, use spatula so it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot or the oven plates. Then until tomato is completely broken down, about 5 minutes, add tomato paste and cook, stirring constantly until paste is deep red and creminized. Then 2 to 3 minutes, stir in beans and bread, bring to a brisk simmer, and cook until juices are slightly reduced and thickened. After 3 to 4 minutes, season to taste with salt and pepper. Combine remaining 2 garlic cloves, oil, shrimp, and paprika in a medium bowl, seasoned with salt and pepper, and toast to evenly cooked shrimp. Scatter shrimp over beans in an even layer, then broil until shrimp are golden and cooked thoroughly, about 3 minutes. Drizzle remaining oil over shrimp and beans, garnish with parsley, serve with bread if desired. But if you don't want to serve it with bread, you can entirely serve it with what works for you. Maybe you just want to eat it the way it is, then it's super nutritious, and I think that's enough to get you full. But for my bread lovers here, your beans can always go with bread, and no matter the type of beans or the recipe of beans, it is a go for you because you love bread, my Nigerian fellows. Moving on is beans and corn. Yes, beans and corn. Beans and corn is perfect. It depends on how you do it. Now, you might decide to say, okay, you want to do it in a porridge form, or you just want to do it in a vegetable kind of stir-fried way. You cooked your beans, cook your corn, and then you can add your bell pepper, you can add your pepper, add your vegetable, your carrot, your green beans, or your parsley. It depends on entirely what you want. If you need a meal for this corn season, and it's a corn season, so it's so easy for you to get corn all around. Corns and beans is for you, so just mix it. They are super healthy. Just like how we cook corn and okwa, then a big okwa, right? Beans and corn is a great combo. If beans make you bloated, one way to reduce that is to combine it with other staple in one pot. And that's why I brought up these beans and corn together. Now, for the ingredients, you need your brown beans, you need your fresh corn. First, don't go and buy cooked corn from roadside corn sellers and then come and make your dish. You can get fresh corn in the market. Then you need your palm oil, you need onions, you need your ground crayfish, you need your seasoning cubes, your pepper to taste, and of course your salt to taste. Direction for making these beans and corn: you need to rinse the beans a few times till the water runs clear. In a pot, pour water to cover it and start cooking until medium heat. After about 7 minutes, pour the beans in a sieve and rinse with cold water. Put back in the pot, add your onions, already chopped. Pour water to cover it and continue cooking. Remove the corn kernels from the cob and rinse and put it in a sieve to drain. Chop the peppers. When the beans is soft, add the corn and palm oil and continue cooking. After about 7 minutes, add the pepper and salt. Once it simmers again, it's done. And this particular dish can be served for either lunch or dinner. But then you can also make it leftovers and still eating in the morning. But then preferably you can go in with this particular recipe perfectly for lunch or dinner. Moving on is baked Nigerian moi moi. Now, for this moi moi, I know that a lot of people prefer their moi moi cooked tied in a banana leaf or in a nylon or in an aluminium foil or whatever it is that you're using to make your moi moi. Like we say, big, so I have to put my moi moi in the oven and it's cooked. But then it's easy, it's less time consuming as well. When you just put it in the oven, you know, you just take it, just put it at the right time, and then you check it from time to time, and before you know it, your moi moi is already ready. And you can make it in a like big bowl. They'll all just enter, and then you just get them done as early as possible. And then when you're serving them, you just use maybe your table knife to just, or even your kitchen knife, the tiny ones, and then you serve it. Now, moi moi can be very challenging to prepare because everything is mixed off the stove before cooking. If you get the mixing wrong, there is no going back once you start cooking. So it's either you're putting in plenty water, or you are using a little bit of water. It's either it's watery or it's thick. So you need to know the exact amount of water you use. You know, I would have just say, okay, just use 1 cup. But then you know that everything you're doing is measurements. When you're cooking is measurement. You have to just know the right quantity of water you need to use with the amount of maybe beans and the ingredients you have. So the ingredient for baked moi moi, like, okay, let's say you are making it for like maybe 12 people, or maybe in 12 muffin cups if you're baking. So you will need your 350-gram black-eyed beans, 1 habanero pepper, 1 big red bell pepper, 2 stock cubes, 2 cooking spoon vegetable oil, then 1 tablespoon ground crayfish, 1 tablespoon nutmeg, your onions are just a moderate size, your salt, warm water for mixing. But some people use cold water, and I've used cold water and it worked for me perfectly well. Now, the red bell pepper is to add color and a nice flavor to this baked moi moi. Use tatashe if you are in Nigeria, and if you're not in Nigeria, you can use a normal bell pepper. For those two, if those two are not available, you can use your tomato paste. Just improvise, maybe chili or Ghana pepper, you know, the way we call it, black peppers. So you can also use beans flour to prepare this if you don't have the beans there. If you have, there are beans flour in the market, but then most times it's fresher and tastes better when you have the original beans. When grinding the beans, use just enough water to help you blend it properly. And when you're using your blender needs so much water. If you're using the normal grinding machine, maybe in the market, then that one can't be, because it's stronger than your home blender. And for delicious taste, you can try to add your fish, depending on what you want, maybe your eggs and all of that. So it's exactly left for you to know what you want to inculcate in this dish. Now, in making this, so since you're going to be using the oven, you set your oven to 200 degrees Celsius or gas max 6 to 3 preheat. Set it to bake. That is top and down heating, so it can be from the top or from the down. So some people like to just bake from like one way round, but then this is moi moi, and we're not making cookies, or we're not just baking muffins or cakes. So raw vegetable oil in the muffin cup. Pour the moi moi mixture into the muffin cup, cover with aluminium folds, and fold the folds into the side of the muffin cup. The aluminium folds prevents the moi moi from drying up. Pour some water in the oven tray and place the muffin tray with the moi moi mix in the tray. Bake in the preheat oven for 45 minutes. Check from time to time to ensure that there is always water in the oven tray. If it looks like it's drying up, then you can add up your water. When done, leave it to cool down completely. Bring it out, and from the muffin cup, you can decide to serve it out of the cup. But if you are in a hurry, you are so hungry, it is not right to eat directly from what you used to cook. Especially, I'm not talking about pot, because a lot of people love to eat from the pot, right? But then you can serve it once it relaxes, so that you'll be able to use your hand to turn it in a plate. So you can make your baked moi moi without having to even stress yourself. Just place it there and check it from time to time. And then if you don't have that, of course, you can use the normal way to make your moi moi. Just get the combination, use your gas or your stove or even your firewood to make it. I'm going to be putting a stop today here on Lunch Global. Thank you for catching up with me on today's episode. I am Chunk Annabelle Joseph. Enjoy the rest of your day and see you tomorrow. Bye.